the average man. If these guys are sad, is what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So before we begin, I just want to tell you all, I know a lot of you already know, but Void Cat has returned to the void from whence she came. She, last year, she had a mysterious anemia in which her immune system was attacking her red blood cells. We were able to get her back on the mend with steroids, but unfortunately, she took a very severe turn for the worst about 2 weeks ago, and she had one of the lowest red blood counts that the vet ever saw. We took her home. We tried to, make her comfortable, see if a new round of steroid treatment would help, but unfortunately, she never really recovered. And at one point, it was obvious that she wasn't going to make it. She wasn't going to make a recovery, and she was in a considerable amount of discomfort. So we made the decision to go to the local vet and have her put under, and not an easy decision. And I was there until she passed. So she was with me. She was with my husband. She was with, well, Scipio was barking the entire time. So in a way, he was also there to usher her into the other world. Not sure if that was really appreciated, but she passed peacefully, and I was petting her while she went. So she got to do what she loved best, which was annoy me by constantly wanting pats. So Godspeed to the Void Cat, to Mia. She was 12 years old, so it's a little bit. Cats can live forever, but then they have some cats that just seem to not do that.
Depends on the breed.
Well, I guess it depends on the luck of the draw. And I mean, she was very sick a year ago, so we did get an extra year with her, and so it was always sort of like touch and go. So, and I know a lot of you really loved Void Cat, and but she'll be here in spirit every time our computers completely melt down, or I don't know, a button gets hit and our entire stream goes kaput.
It'll probably be her. Yeah,
it'll be her in spirit coming at us with the chaos of the void. So yeah, I guess F's in the chat for Void Cat. And okay, so
yeah. All right. I told Mike about it too. He said that if you guys remember, Mike used to do those little animations.
Mm-hmm.
And Void Cat was a recurring character in them. So yeah. Maybe he'll make another cartoon. You might see one.
A memorial to the chaos from the void.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay. So yes, so we are going to be reacting to this video by Dr. Anna called "The Saddest Takeaways from Louis Theroux's Inside the Manosphere." So I want to before we get into this, okay, let me tell you a little bit about who this person is that we're reacting to. This is according to her YouTube channel, and this is just to get us ready, okay? So, psychology with Dr. Anna. I'm a psychology educator and fiction author with a doctorate in clinical psychology. My goal is to make evidence-based information about relationships, personality, and more accessible to the general public. Oh yeah, okay.
Is that original?
I think it's supposed to say, and I know I don't mean to correct somebody with a doctorate, but what it says is my goal is to make evidence-based information about relationships, personality, and more accessible to the general public. So that's what it should say. I think that's how it should read. Okay. This channel is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not substitute therapy or constitute a therapist-client relationship. If you are having a crisis, call your local crisis hotline. My videos are general and not specific to your unique case. Please do not contact me for advice. Comments and emails are largely handled by a manager, not myself. If you are a former client, I cannot engage with you on this platform due to confidentiality. But anyway, so she is a YouTube psychologist, basically, that makes videos.
And this is evidence-based. I'm guessing it doesn't even touch endocrinology in passing or evolved traits in passing. But you know, I'm sure there's going to be. I'm sure she doesn't use Cosmo polls and Twitter Twitter surveys. I'm sure that this, you know, I don't, I this is my first time encountering her. I've read some of the comments by you guys saying that she's a misandrist. So like I'll be finding out. I'll be delving into this mystery anew, like completely fresh.
This is
I'm
Allison's blind
blind
playthrough
blind
of
playthrough
this. Yeah, blind
of this
playthrough of
individual.
Dr. Anna.
But I do love her smirk, you know, because that really says caring professional. A duper's delight smirk as she roasts a bunch of men who are basically where they're at because there is a lot of desperation and a sense of hopelessness among men that these guys could actually monetize by presenting like a living vicariously through their lifestyle, let's say. Like, but we're not going to address that. We're not going to address what constructed these men. We're just going to point and laugh like they're a freak show. That's my guess. I mean, I could be completely wrong. But you know, again, if these guys who are multimillionaires who have women are a freak show that we're pointing and laughing at, one wonders what the average dude is in Dr. Anna's mind. One wonders. Okay, let's find out.
All right, before we do the things, before we start, you should do the things.
Yes, I should do the thing. Sorry, I got thrown off. All right. So the monthly fundraiser is live at feedthebadger.com/support. And our general attitude towards supporting men is maybe stop telling them that they're trash and they do everything wrong, and maybe appreciate what men and men's psychology does for society. Maybe that'll improve the men's mental health. I don't know. It's worth a try, you know? So anyway, if that appeals to you, then go to feedthebadger.com/support and support our message. And if you want to send us a message and tell me how I'm a subhuman, because I believe that, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justtip. Don't laugh. People have who actually despise us have sent me messages, paid to send me messages. Well, I don't know. Despise is a strong word. Strongly disagree with us. They've sent us messages. So who knows? You know, whatever you want to send. You want to say, hey, you do good work. You want to make commentary on what we're talking about. You want to give an F for Voidcat. Go to feedthebadger.com/justtip and put a few shekels in the hat for us and whatever you want to send us that you want us to address. All right, let's
All right. So I'm going to start with the intro. So I'm going to let her set the stage.
Sounds like an excellent plan.
British journalist Louis Theroux recently made a documentary about the Manosphere, a cluster of men who create online content for boys and other men, where they teach them how to be masculine and how to treat women.
He put masculine in quotes. I don't know if you saw that. What was that, Allison?
Well, I'm looking at her books.
What?
I'm looking at her books. I'm seeing
what. Oh, you're looking at her book?
Yeah, I'm probably going to do that. I'm gonna scan her books. Damn it, I need to get closer. I need to enhance. You know, like Blade Runner, enhance.
A song at Dead Man's Cove, it says, or cave.
Oh, a song at Dead Man's Cave. I'm gonna find out what that is. Just give me a second. I got to pull up my assistant. Keep going.
All right, let's keep going.
I watched it and I had a few thoughts, specifically on the way that poverty, trauma, and social media algorithms encourage unethical behavior, on the ways in which we're failing young men who don't have positive role models, and on the fact that a lot of these content creators are putting on a facade. They're not who they say they are, but they're creating an entire generation of men who will believe the fucked up things they say. Let's talk.
Wait a second. They aren't who they say they are? Okay, so
he said, wait, I should listen to that again because it's a little bit confusing. I want to make sure we hear that right.
Creating an entire generation of men who will believe the fucked up things they say. Let's talk about it.
Oh, that they're having an influence. So basically what she's saying is that the Manosphere guys presented his documentary.
Oh, that's her book.
It's her book?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it makes sense. He's saying that the Manosphere men featured in the documentary may not believe the things that they preach, but that they're having an influence over men who will believe it. That's what
Mm.
she's saying. So,
And what are these men preaching that's so egregious?
they're the Manosphere. Well,
okay,
okay, so that's the intro.
Yeah.
So, she gets into like this thing about materialism and like how these guys are selling a materialistic lifestyle and that's bad, even though again they're just doing what they think women want, but that's not a problem that women want it, I guess. So but it's sort of like a way to sort of discredit them. But then she gets into
Why would you break pentameter in your title? It's awkward.
why would you what?
Why would you break? I think it's called pentameter. It's it's like the usual cadence of how English works. It's a line of verse consisting of 5 metrical feet. What the hell? Iambic pentameter is the opening passage of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. 2 households, both alike in dignity in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. You see that has a rhythm that allows you to say it, and it
Yeah.
just trips off the tongue. A song of Dead Men's Cove just doesn't have the same rhythm. Anyway, continue.
Okay. So I'm gonna jump. So anyway, she goes into this thing about how the Manosphere is, featured in the documentary, is basically just like materialistic, right? They're showing their cars and their pools and their yachts and this stuff, and she's like, "Oh, it's just kind of shallow." But she doesn't really, and this is the thing that I find is funny, is she doesn't really say anything about how, they're just doing what they think women want. Like that's literally the brand. Like I'm going to get the things that I think women want. And then, yeah, that might be materialistic, but it works on women. So like, is that not an issue? But anyway, I'm going to jump ahead to, of course, she'd say something like, well, that's not how I work. I'm going to jump ahead to where she talks about objectification. So I think that's like right here, and envy too. 4 minutes, so like right here, I think.
You guys have no idea how many sponsors I've turned down simply because they were like not ethical.
No, she's basically saying that like she doesn't work with sponsors that are unethical.
Okay, what do they do?
Of poverty.
Oh, let me go back a little bit.
Oh,
Sorry.
is she an alleged commie?
So like I saw like one of her other videos, but it wasn't about men, and it was a while ago. I didn't get any commie red flags, but I do think that like she is a woman, so there's a little bit of that, just sort of like in nature, like we should take care of people. You know what I mean? Like that recognition of the underserved.
Yeah, I mean,
she probably is though. Like to be honest, I mean, if she went to school, there's a pretty good chance she did not get out of school without failing at least one saving throw against commie gobbledygook. So she probably has some of it at least. But let's hear it from here.
These men choose to take the money at the cost of their integrity, especially if they have a history of poverty trauma where they don't ever want to be in that position again. But this is not just something that content creators need to take responsibility for, because at the end of the day, it's caused by algorithms that all of us use. If we want ethical content creators, we need to change the way algorithms work by not constantly just craving negativity, by consuming ethical content that leaves the world a better place rather than a worse place, by supporting content creators outside of algorithms, like signing up for their newsletters, by not engaging with outreach farming, where people are just saying the most outrageous things they can think of because attention brings them money, or by engaging in more positive content, like giving a like, leaving a comment when somebody is like just doing something lovely, like, I don't know, making a video of like gardening where it's like, okay, I don't feel.
I'm sorry, that got a little rambly. People who make wholesome content do really well on YouTube as well, so I don't know what she's getting at. But I think that what she's trying to do is basically say there shouldn't be mean people online. And if anyone is popular but also mean, then that's the fault of not just those people or the people that watch them, but like the system. And so the system has to get arrested and, put
And
into sensitivity training or
desystematize.
something. So it's just kind of a pointless thing, but that's not what I wanted to get at. I'm trying to get to something else.
Okay, well, that's fine. At least it lays the groundwork of her
This
thinking.
person.
I'm sorry, what?
I mean, it lays the groundwork of the kind of thinking we're dealing with. So,
Yeah.
I
okay.
would rather this
What?
Keep going.
Okay.
person succeed on the algorithms versus somebody who's just constantly shitting on other people. And it's kind of sad that, like, for people who are very outrageous, who are outrage farming a lot, they can say the worst things in the world with no repercussions, actually more rewards, because again, we live in an attention economy. Whereas the standards are so much higher for moral people, because if you build an audience based on moral behavior, that audience is more likely to.
Is she victimizing over herself over being more moral?
Yeah, I think so. Although I think her channel is pretty decent in size. So,
Yeah.
Does that mean that she's also outrage farming? Like,
well, I mean, people have called her a misandrist in the comments, so presumably it doesn't come from nowhere. And
comments
that is
from here or the comments
the
under
comments,
our video?
in the comments in our chat. I
In
mean,
our chat, yeah, sure. Our chat can spot
substantiate
that.
them. I would like you guys to substantiate.
I heard her chat's completely in lockstep with her. So
Yeah, of course, because she's a very moral person, but probably doesn't allow dissidents because she's so moral. You see.
yeah.
Okay, but honestly, like, if she is, as you guys are saying, a misandrist, then 100% she sells outrage. 100% she's shitting on people. Well, men. I guess that doesn't really count because the penis people aren't really people. But, like 100% she's doing all the shit that she's accusing other people of doing. But, I want you guys to instantiate this. Let's just not allege it. Tell me how she is a misandrist. So far, this is bland as frick. I mean, this is basically just lukewarm porridge that has come out of this screen. I'm waiting for the payload. I'm waiting for the meat, the rancid meat.
Okay.
Moral than the audience of like somebody who's following like a terrible person. And if you then fuck up, even in the slightest bit, if you
have you
change your
fucked
mind
up
about something that previously you agreed with your audience on, you're going to get a lot more repercussions for that small thing than the person saying outrageous things ever gets. We live in a society that incentivizes immorality. Isn't that a little bit concerning? And I think this like greed.
Yeah. So again, these are kind of silly claims because she says, if you're making moral content, which she doesn't say she is one of those people, but it sounds like she's implying it because she seems to be speaking from experience, then if you step out of line a little bit, you're going to get a lot of shit. Like, that's the internet in general. I don't know what you mean by that. Like, no matter what you try to do, even if you are one of these awful people, you're going to get pushback. Unless you want an echo chamber. Like, I don't know. But anyway.
And this desire for materialism also partly explains why a lot of these content creators resent women. They're envious of the things they perceive women get simply because they're beautiful. Like, they think that the average woman is just constantly getting invitations to go on yachts, which I think is pretty rare in my experience. I don't know. Can you let me know in the comments? Have you ever?
I think that they aren't. Okay, so how did this happen? Because this is a lot of sophistry and intellectual dishonesty. There's a difference between saying beautiful women get a free ride and saying all women get a free ride, although women do get a free ride. They get a free ride legally, they get a free ride socially, they get a free ride financially. They usually get a free ride when they accuse their partners of being narcissists, which apparently all of them are. So, I mean, no, you're wrong. Middling women.
Yeah, but Allison, you're not letting her straw man. Like, she's talking about specifically women getting invited onto yachts, not women getting like lower sentencing or getting slapped on the wrist for like raping underage boys in their classrooms. No. It's about women getting invited to yachts. Have you been invited to a yacht? If not, then she wins, and you're just a misogynist. Yeah, that's the way this works.
I don't think she's attributing to them an opinion.
And by the way, nobody in that movie claimed that women are always getting invited to go on yachts anyway. None of the men, not even those guys, and I don't consider those the men they featured in the Manosphere were obviously Louis Theroux was going out of his way to find the most fringe people that he could he could
Willing to talk to him?
appropriately misrepresent, and he even took those guys out of context in probably every case. And she didn't even look to see if there was anything else substantial about the Manosphere and chose to stick with those examples and then take the straw men that those guys already were when you take, edit their clips and all that. And on top of that, even that extremely exaggerated version of those men who are a fringe already outside of the Manosphere in terms of their beliefs and stuff, even those guys never said anything about women getting invited onto yachts. Like she's literally pulling shit out of her ass and refuting it. No one said that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These guys didn't say that. So basically she's saying because beautiful women get significant benefits because they're beautiful, and women generally get significant benefits not having to be conscripted ever. Right now, women in Germany can still leave Germany, whereas men who are conscription age cannot. So yeah, women get significant benefits that men don't. Men are always beholden to the societies that they're a part of. It never changes. Don't let people lie to you about that. As soon as any country has need of its young men's bodies to go throw them in a wood chipper, it does. It does. And that doesn't apply to her. And then, of course, there's all of the body of law that explicitly only protects women, but not men, and actually degrades men's legal position relative to women, right? There's all of that as well. And then there's all of the family law that explicitly benefits women. And we know because there are now situations where they've tried to change that in Tennessee, I believe, where they've actually created a presumption of shared custody to oppose the de facto maternal custody. And you don't have to do that unless there's a de facto maternal custody in operation, right? So there's all kinds of things that the average woman gets and the average man does not, okay? Not to mention, the average woman's identity isn't constantly under attack by a now trillion-dollar industry that is undermining men as partners, as fathers, as workers, as any possible social role in society, any possible role in society. You have a campaign to undermine men in it, right? So this is absolute bullshit from stem to stern. But also, she is conflating these guys saying that beautiful women get stuff, even more stuff. Let's face it, right? Beautiful women get even more stuff, right? An average woman can at any time, if she gets her head together, get a relationship, a family, and children with a man who's probably 2 standard deviations more attractive than she is at any point. And that is also a benefit. Maybe she doesn't get invited to yachts, but if she's in any way sane, she can get married and have children. This is not a situation that men are in at this point. And I can tell you that because of that dating. And I don't even think they were trying to red pill anyone, but that dating panel, remember that? The dating panel where you had 3.5 guys who were absolutely ready to step up. In any other era, these men would have been married 5 years ago. Some woman would have locked that shit down immediately, like right out of high school, done, right? They're still single and they are ready. Like they are providers. They are ready to concede points, to pull their weight, to recognize they're wrong if they're wrong. And the women that they were paired with they were not ready. They were dysregulated baboons is what I like to call them. Like they were so close to just not having a cortical layer capable of controlling their impulses. And there was one who was like who was more put together, but she had really delusional beliefs about her life. Like she's like, I didn't want to sacrifice my career for family and children. And then they're like, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a manager at a thrift store. she's not like inventing some new radical technology that's going to take us to Jupiter. She's a manager in a thrift store, which there's nothing wrong with being a manager in a thrift store, but is it really what you want for your life's goal is instead of having a family and a relationship? Like you're not adding that much to the course of human endeavor by not having kids here, lady. All right. Anyway.
Yep.
But
okay, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah. Okay.
Received an invitation to go on a yacht. But even if it were true, even if like every single woman was constantly bombarded with like offers of extreme wealth and materialism because she's a woman, what these men failed to realize is that they would only be getting those things because of sexual objectification. And those
what?
they get,
Because you think it's bad doesn't mean you're not getting it. Like what? How does this? I've decided that.
But isn't she kind of throwing shade at women that would go along with this? She's not doing it because she's blaming the men. She's saying, she's only going with you because you want to have sex with her. And they're like, yes. I mean, look, I don't think it's not my thing, but you just got to look at the absolute state of modern women and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these guys are like, well, this is what works. I'm going to do it. I can't get mad at that.
No.
So,
but also, she's just, and this is what objectification is for. This is why the mouth noise, they make the mouth noise. It's because they don't have to feel like they're getting something from it. They can once again be a victim of being afforded privileges other people don't have. And incidentally, it's of course it's white women, white, wealthy, attractive women are the most oppressed in the world. Based on objectification, right? They're the ones who are really getting hit hard by that. And what's making that, what's so awful about it is that people want to be around them. They want to be nice to them. They want to give them stuff. They want to be friends with them. They want to have sex with them. Oh God. Oh my God. A mammal having access to sex. That's just a nightmare for a mammal, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
You know, and they have turned that into a source of victimhood. Is that not astounding? Is that like just that makes everything these women say absolute bullshit. They cannot acknowledge a single thing that they get that they maybe don't deserve, right? And maybe it is a privilege that they might want to at least acknowledge. No, they have to turn it into victimhood. They have to turn it into victimhood. Because that's where they're comfortable. They're not comfortable having a cortex. They must dismantle it. Okay.
All right.
Go out the door the second they sleep with the men or don't sleep with the men or get older. It's like these content creators don't understand that these aren't things that women are just handed as a result of being born female. They're the people you get if you
okay, all right,
to play
lady,
along with.
Just because on the extreme end, you know, you get to hang out in yachts and have careers doing nothing except mugging at cameras. You know, on the extreme end, women get that, but then all the way down the steps, women get something. Right? In the middle, they get preferential treatment in the justice system, preferential treatment in the family courts. They don't have to be conscripted. Yeah, that's all the way to the bottom, right? Right? You know, that's what they get.
Bare minimum. They don't get their genitals mutilated when they're born.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of stuff you get by just virtue of being female. And incidentally, isn't this very sexist? Just out of curiosity? She's
what?
Is cis sexist or whatever.
Yeah,
Transphobic. Transphobic, what she's saying here. Because these are definitely things that trans women don't get. And you're not really checking your privilege as a cis woman, are you? I know. I'm pointing out the hypocrisy. That's all.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
The game of objectification and dehumanization. You know, like the woman who was in HS Tiki Taki's house that he referred to as his dishwasher, and she was just like going along to his misogynistic insult.
It was a misogynistic insult.
You know
she was giggling along. If only she knew how much damage he did to her when he jokingly referred to her as his dishwasher.
You know,
if only she knew the trauma.
Yeah. You know what's misogynistic? Dr. Anna is inculcating such a sense of learned helplessness that women think a joke will lay them low and constrain their options in life. It's a joke. Laugh, move on. Like, whatever.
Because she gets to experience the material benefits of being in his orbit. That woman, in my opinion, has chosen, okay, I'm going to experience all this objectification and dehumanization, literally being compared to an object, a fucking dishwasher, because I get certain material perks. Most women don't like that kind of contract. Most
I mean, like, she gets to, like, stay at a house with a pool. I think I don't know. I think most women are not like pick-me's. She's kind of calling her a pick-me in a way, right?
Whatever.
But
I don't
anyway,
care to, like, I don't care to be bothered.
yeah.
A lot of these insult, like, women like this are so precious and so fragile. Like, I don't care to be bothered for the most part. I mean, some things do bother me, and I will call that out. But for this, don't care to be bothered. Right? Why would you expend the mental energy on something like this when there are bigger problems in the world? And
Yeah.
obviously the man was joking. And
What
not
about
just
when
that.
what about when feminists like Clementine Ford joke about killing all men or yes all men or choosing the bear or
That's
something like
acceptable.
that?
Yeah, what
Uh,
about the women would choose the bear, right? You're basically
I mean, if you
dehumanizing all
confront them
men.
on that, they'll say it's a joke. Can you
Yeah.
take a joke, bro?
Does she actually ever talk about the absolute state of female influencers and how freaking demonic they are?
I don't watch her content. I came across
Mm,
one thing and it wasn't gendered. It was about something else.
okay.
So I couldn't tell you. I'm not sure. All right, let's keep going.
are not going to want to sign up to that, or even if they do sign up to it, they're probably going to experience a lot of trauma as a result of it. And these men in the documentary were always talking about, like,
So, okay, you see, did you catch what she just suggested there? She said that if a woman does go along with it, she's likely going to experience trauma. So she's basically saying that if you're a
Mm,
woman and you go along with this, like the girl in that clip that she was referring to, that man is going to do something bad to you and you're going to be traumatized. So she's pathologizing men in general now based
mhm.
on her feelings about that situation, even though later on she kind of contradicts herself, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, but if this is going to traumatize women, what does constantly referring to every manifestation of masculinity as toxic going to do to men and boys? Like, everywhere. Like, if this is going to traumatize women, what's adolescence going to do to boys?
Yep.
Like, this is just complete delusion right here. Like, complete absence of understanding that half the human race are people. And okay, fair enough. She thinks men should be held to a higher standard of toughness and stoicism. But at the same time, she holds men to a higher standard of toughness and stoicism because I'm guessing she wouldn't consider it. She'd probably, it's not even on a radar that men should be harmed by things like all men, I choose the bear, kill all men, men should be reduced to 10% of the population, toxic masculinity, patriarchy, privilege, all of the ways of condemning and making men small that are most likely, on her fingertips as a credentialed psychologist who takes part in that witch doctory. All of that, she's not even considering the impact on men. So she's de facto expecting men to attain a level of toughness and stoicism that women are not expected. Women should be able to use being called a dishwasher in order to rearrange the freaking universe to suck on their ass for the rest of eternity. But men should be able to tolerate being told they shouldn't exist at all. That's, you just suck it up. But we can never acknowledge that we are expecting more of men ever. God, this person doesn't even know her own mind. How can she possibly be in charge of other human beings?
She's the reason why men don't seek
Go,
therapy.
don't seek therapy, and probably. Well, I'm not going to say you shouldn't, but be careful. Be
No, I
very
know,
careful.
but I'm saying that's the reason why they don't. But anyway.
Matrix. The matrix they fear that's like trying to keep you down, that's trying to keep you in poverty. But they themselves are a matrix. Louis Theroux did a great job of showing how they exploit the most vulnerable men who are looking up to them with like gambling and investment sponsors that are really shady. It's not too different from how like disenfranchised boys turn to gangs as an easy way to make good money. And then they go on and exploit other people as part of being in those gangs. And this is a good segue into my
Okay, so this is where we get into the meat of it. So she brings up, remember when we watched the movie, Allison, and there were those two young guys, they're like two Latino guys, by the way, that were basically talking about how much they got out of, like Justin Waller's work. Now I don't, we don't know the details of like how much that they're paying him or what, but all we know is that they explain their situation and like that they did not have a father in the home. And that was, and a lot of these Manosphere guys also didn't have a father in the home. I don't think that's true of Myron, but I know it is of Justin and HS Tiki-Taki for sure. But again, we're looking at a fringe of a fringe, right? Like these guys are a small fraction that Louis Theroux selected, and he even acknowledged that because in the beginning of the documentary, he says most of the Manosphere are relatively moderate podcasters and comedians, which, who knows who he's referring to. I assume Joe Rogan or something, who's not in the Manosphere, but is in the Manosphere because the media has decided it. The podcast bros, I guess, they're all Manosphere guys now. Theo Vaughn, whoever it is. Shane Gillis. But anyway, so Louis Theroux acknowledges in a sentence that you'd have to be listening to hear it, that the most of the Manosphere is not these guys, but that he chooses to make his documentary about these few fringe guys. So there's an acknowledgement that it's a fringe. And then within that fringe, you have men that are coming from fatherless or broken homes. And there should be, I don't know, from someone with a doctorate, I would think that'd be like I wonder what the common denominator is with this. And maybe there's something we can do to address this, but let's just keep going. You'll see where we're getting at. So, okay.
Next point, which is that it really seems like young men and boys are craving role models. A lot of them are in pain and they're not sure.
No, they're not craving role models. They're craving recognition of the unique things they contribute to society, or at the very least, recognition that they are held to higher standards than women. Because this is what I'm finding this infuriating. All right. I'm not going to speak for the average dude. But if I were in this situation where I'm being held to a higher standard than my sisters, than my wife, than my girlfriend, than any woman in my life, my female coworkers, and I'm being held to a higher standard, I have to go and clean up the vomit on the bathroom floor. I have to go lift the heavy boxes in the storeroom. I have to suck it up when I have to listen to misandrous jokes in the workplace. And my feelings are put on a lower shelf than the women around me. And in every circumstance, I can't complain about this. And I am forced to rearrange everything for the comfort of the women in my life. At some point, I'd be like, it's really annoying to hear that I have to be more stoic. I have to be tougher. I have to arrange myself for all the women around me. And at the same time, I am being told that they are sacrificing for me, that I am an imposition on them. Stop saying that to men and boys. Stop having a gigantic financial economic cluster, like a Death Star, constantly going after the industries that men and boys are drawn to, meaning they can't get work, right? Like Obama's infrastructure bill got scuppered. Why? Because most of the money would go to jobs for men, because those were the jobs that were lost in the financial crisis. And feminists said, oh no, you're not going to do that. Everything has to go to women, and men have to suck that up too. And they have to suck up watching women take their jobs and not do them. And I have seen this myself repeatedly. I have seen crews like groundskeeping crews, men working, they're doing the work, and then I go past a grounds crew just randomly. I just go to the city on a random day, no particular, like no reason to do with looking at ground crews, and I'm just walking through the city, walking my dog on a random day. I only go to the city like 6 times a year, and I'm walking through. I'm watching the groundskeeping crews that are men doing their job. And then I go past 3 fucking women wandering around a playground with clipboards. And then they're just sitting on the play structures. You know, they're swinging back and forth. They're going up, 3 of them going up a slide and looking at bolts or something. And then they're sitting down in the picnic and having another talk about whatever it is. I'm like, this is it. You are giving men's jobs to women, and women aren't even doing them. And it's infuriating. And I'm tired of being like, oh, well, you know, maybe. No, this is what I see. This is what I see. Women don't want to do the jobs. They don't do the jobs, right? They want to get paid for it, and then they want to have chats with their coworkers. How is it even possible that one day out of 6 in a year that I decide to go walk through a city, I see this, like multiple male crews doing their job, and then a bunch of women just sitting down at a picnic table talking. How is that possible? Unless this is something that is actually happening. And I'm just noticing because I have the cortical structures to notice. I am a noticer. All right. Let's keep going.
All right, let's keep going.
For men that they can find strength in. A lot of these guys in the manosphere position themselves as like coaches that will teach men how to be men. HS Tiki Talkie said, I coach boys how to be boys.
I'm going to say bitch. Did you chose that thumbnail. Why did you choose yourself smirking? Does that say that you're going to give men a fair run? And also, these men, they came from somewhere. They came from the absolute destruction of the average man. The average man's work prospects, because our society has decided it can survive without lean mass. And what I mean by lean mass is an effective military, an effective industrial sector, an effective infrastructure sector, and an effective commodities, so mining, refining sector. We've decided we don't need that shit. We can offshore it, and everybody can be a ballless bureaucrat or a harem girl. That's our freaking society. Giant fatberg on a tiny remaining island of men who still do the work that needs to get done. And all of that has destroyed men's prospects in terms of work, right? It's destroyed men's prospects in terms of work. It has reduced their respect as members of their society. And then on top of that, they have to deal with a narrative that undermines their worth as partners every single second of the day. Feminism is pumping out more crap about, oh, women choose the bear. Oh, men are emotional labor is the new stupid thing. Oh, men don't pull their job. They do pull their weight, by the way. They do, right? Men don't do childcare. Well, they do if they have a actual guarantee that their relationship isn't going to be interrupted at the whims of the woman, right? At every stage, men are grinded on by this society and treated like they're not just disposable, but worthless trash that should just march itself out, right? Guys like this, they are parasitic on that desperation because they are good looking enough, they make enough money that they can command the attention of multiple women and construct that harem, that prestige harem that these guys are looking at and living vicariously through, because they aren't going to get a wife, they aren't going to get children, they aren't going to get a freaking job that respects them. They're going to get fucking all, and then they're going to be constantly harped on as being worthless. God, I'm in a pissy mood today. Okay.
All right, we're going to continue. Thank you guys for joining us on the stream. I see we have 142 people watching. So please smash like for us. It helps us reach more people on the main channel and about 10 on the vertical. but that's all right. Just smash like, okay, and on Rumble as well. Okay,
And send those
let's
comments to
yeah, send us
feedthebadger.com.
those comments.
Yeah,
All
just a
right.
tip.
So we're talking about fatherlessness now. All right. Let's see where she goes with this, or role models, which leads into fathers.
As a success coach who gives advice to men. It was sad to see in the documentary how boys were coming up to these guys, calling them role models. And it kind of begs the question, what is going on with men these days that they are crying out
you
for role models so desperately?
Actually look at what those young men said? And I can't fucking believe she's not even... Okay, does she acknowledge that at all?
Give it some, yeah, she's going to go into a little bit,
All
but
right.
she says she thinks that it's tragic that these young men went to these guys for help, but never asks why there's no other help. There was like nowhere else for them to go. Doesn't even think about that. Well, why don't they go to a teacher? Well, I don't know. Maybe because the teachers are like not going to help them. Like they're their enemy. I don't know. Well, let's keep going.
They'll turn to these like clearly immoral men for that type of leadership.
Yeah, but they're
Let me
not.
explore this a little bit.
They're
What?
not in, like, where are you standing to say that they're immoral? Because from where I'm standing, you are immoral. And the entire the entire edifice of what you represent is immoral. What you represent is the marginalization of masculinity, saying that men aren't valuable to society by virtue of who they are and what they do. That's immoral. That is profoundly immoral, especially since now all of these Western nations are making grumblings about conscription. You've spent how many years saying that women can do anything a man can do, but apparently not die in a trench? That is immoral. So where does she get... So even though these guys are sketch, in my opinion, and I think that they are actually parasitic on the problem, they aren't actually solving anything. The fact that they say to young men, hey, you can actually make your life better and you are worthy of doing so, makes them, several shades lighter. It's like black versus gray. These guys are gray. You are black, Anna. Black, black, black. Coal black in your coal black heart.
So,
wow, is that
Hex
colors?
One on Rumble gifted 5 subscriptions. I'm not sure like what that is, but thank you, Hex, and that's awesome on Rumble. 5s. I don't know how that works. I don't know anything about gifting subscription. Maybe somebody can help me out with that. I'm curious because I don't know how it works. But thank you, I assume, Hex One. He said should be about $20 to $25. So I guess it's like support.
Okay, thank
So
you.
yeah, appreciate the support. Okay.
No matter how fast.
Yeah, let's get, so this is where the meat of it is, because again, this woman is supposed to be a clinical psychologist, right? And these are the people that insist that men have to go to them for their problems, right? Now, women already do that, and it hasn't really worked out for them either, by the way.
Okay.
But they insist that men should be going to them. So let's see how she's going to sell this.
Am I
Yep.
like? I mean, I could be completely off base here. Like I'm saying that she's got a black heart, and I'm just saying that mostly based on the smirk that she had while dealing with this, which completely contradicts the idea that she's so sympathetic or pitying or whatever it is that she. Oh, this is sad. Well, why are you smirking? Like why are you smirking like you're getting one over on someone? Right? Why are you looking like you're a cheat? So I'm on the basis of that, and also the fact that she's bringing up male role models, but not why men feel like they're being told they're worthless, particularly when they are indeed being told they're worthless. Like it's amazing. I remember there was this headline where these I guess feminist researchers were like, boys seem to be damaged. And I'm like, yes, you damaged them. You even said that you were going to do so. Oh, they appear to be damaged. Yes. It's like after the headline of how do we damage boys more? They have the headline of boys appear to be damaged. It's like they forget They have no memory of what they just did. Okay, let's keep going. Sorry.
All right, let's keep going.
Two of the fans that came up to one of the guys he was interviewing. One of them talked about how he was homeless recently and crying himself to sleep. And his role model in the Manosphere helped him gain, it sounded like, an internal locus of control and find the strength and the hope to sort of pull himself out of that situation. At some point, we people who care about mental health must reckon with the reality that a lot of men are craving this type of motivation. That a lot of men maybe don't relate to the like gentler, more validating form of motivation that can be quite common with
It's not gentle. It's not fucking gentle. Coming from a presumption that the way that men interact with society and the way that men be and do is wrong is not gentle. A struggle session isn't gentle. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think that men have a problem with guys smiley. Not guy smiley.
No. Yeah. Again, she's trying to, because let's just keep going.
Speak, and if they don't find that tough love motivation anywhere else, they're gonna find it from really problematic and exploitative.
Okay, stop again. Wait. Probably the kindest, gentlest man who recognizes the issues men face is Warren Farrell.
Mm-hmm.
The dude is like I don't know, a quilt and
A hot cocoa with
hot
marshmallows.
Yeah,
do you guys remember in The Simpsons? There was this one episode where Ned Flanders offered Bart a cocoa and Bart said no, and he's like, well, I'll just make it and put it on your windowsill. And it was like this perfect hot cocoa with like cinnamon and like
roasted marshmallow.
I love that. It cracks me up when Ned Flanders made it for Bart. But anyway, sorry, showing my age a bit.
He is the embodiment of a hot cocoa and a freaking quilt and some, like, I don't know, atmospheric music.
Campfire, no, not like a fireplace, you know.
Yeah, a fireplace. You know, and he's sitting down. And he's like, "Let me tell you. Let's talk. Tell a story. You know, I'll meet you where you are." Gentlest.
I met him and I talked to him a little bit, and I asked him because he was, pretty old, but he looks good for his age, and he said that he does a lot of yoga. So that's Warren Farrell does yoga at like 70 something.
The Mr. Rogers of the men's.
Nobody would say that he's not a man. Like nobody would say that. But, but anyway, go ahead.
But also, these people have drummed him out. So when she says, "Oh, men just don't want gentleness," bullshit. Even when it's gentle, you don't want to hear the truth. That's what I think men want, is the truth. And want to stop being lied to their face. And even a gentleman like Warren Farrell, who gently tells you the truth, gets the Harridan treatment. So bullshit.
Yeah, because gentleness, when these people say it, it doesn't mean truth. It means validation and comfort. It means nuance. Security, not truth. Truth is love, right? It is. Like, telling somebody the truth is like, especially because you're trying to save them from themselves. That's what love is. Telling somebody what they want to hear because it makes them happy and gives them the good feels. That's not love. That's you being nice to protect yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's hear.
All right.
People get mad at me because I really value internal locus of control. I really value people, taking responsibility.
Okay, wait a second. Lives, even if you value
here it comes.
Locus of control, and yet you're telling a woman.
Only for men, Allison.
Oh yeah, of course. What am I thinking? You're telling a woman to be offended at a joke that she didn't find offensive, so she found it funny, right? She laughed at it. And you want her to become a victim of it. And then you also want women to become a victim of the benefits they get from looking good. You don't know your own mind. You don't understand what internal locus of control means. But let's hear it.
There are environmental issues going on that are outside of their control. But I am never going to stop preaching the importance of that, because a lot of people seek that type of empowerment. A lot of people feel really powerless in the world, and they need something to help them feel more powerful. They need the hope. They need the motivation. They need
Okay, okay. You need feel. Men aren't going to be saved, lady. This is something I have to deal with because I would actually like to see I'd like to see services for men. I'd like to see abused men have a place to go. I'd like to see hotlines that actually deal with men's issues fairly and on their face. I'd like to see an expectation of joint shared custody so that men don't lose to their children. But I know that that's not going to happen, right? I'd like to see fairness in the courts so men don't have to always play a defensive game when they're always with women, right? I'd like to see that stuff. Not going to happen. So it's not a matter of, oh, well, people feel like there's certain like, unbelievable attitude she has. Oh, these people, they want to feel like they have control in their bitch. Their only source of getting anything done, because nobody's coming to save them, is themselves, right? And you would understand this if you even had the least amount of understanding of men's issues and how much power it takes out of men's lives. And that the only thing you can do, you can't say, well, go to this abused man shelter. Doesn't exist. Go to this hotline that'll help. Doesn't exist. Well, go to the cops. They're not going to take your side. They're more likely to arrest you. So you have to take responsibility. And it's a situation where there is no alternative. You have to record everything. You have to make sure you write it down. You have to keep a diary. You have to keep a recorder on you at all times. You have to film, right? You have to get your friends to help you out so that she can't make a false accusation against you. You have to do these things as a man because nobody's coming to save you. So this bullshit about, oh, they feel better. They feel better. It makes them feel better when they have control. Nobody's saving them, lady. This is such a position of incredible entitlement. It has such delusion. And how can she be considered an authority on anyone who is male if she has no understanding of the situation they are in, to the point where she thinks for men, doing it for yourself is an option that just makes you feel good. Like it's just an option that makes you feel good, right? Like she's delusional when it comes to men.
Men don't want to feel good. They want to get things done. They want to get their shit together. And yeah, I mean, if they know they're not going to get help from anybody else, which is one of the lessons these Manosphere guys say in the documentary, Louis Theroux and this woman and every other woman that I've seen respond to this, and there's been a lot of people making content, a lot of feminists online or experts or whatever making content, and they're all like, they none of them can see that the reason why these guys feel the need to do it themselves is because there literally isn't anyone else that's going to help them, including them, including this woman. So men don't want to hear validation. They want to solve problems. It is about the nail, actually.
Yeah.
That's the way men see it. They're like, no, it's about the nail. I don't want to talk about the nail. I want to do something about the nail. And I want you to help me with a plan. If you're going to help at all, let's get the nail out. But if you're not going to help, you just want to talk about it, then I want you to leave because you're in my way. And these people are always in their way. That's just what it is. I mean, yeah, it's nice to be appreciated, but I think that when a man has a problem, they just want to fix the problem. That's it. And they don't want to talk about the problem. Okay, anyway.
And to be able to pull themselves out of difficult situations. Other people, they don't connect to that as much. Other people, they pull themselves out of difficult situations by a more gentle, validating approach. But if we just take this
I'm not sure that actually helps, but that's just me. I'm not sure that validating somebody is actually going to solve their problems. I think it's just something to make them feel more comfortable with those problems.
Well, okay, there's a type of validation that I think works, and that's getting people to recognize that they have succeeded at something, right? even if it's small, because when people are really depressed, particularly men, it's like you and this is what I think that the Jordan Peterson is clean your room. It's not just cleaning your room, it's acknowledging you have done it. Right. And it's saying, yeah, I am capable of this. I'm capable of making the world
Clean up your room.
a little bit better through my actions. And I'm going to recognize that. And I think that's like that moment of recognition is really critical. I'm not sure if it's validation because it's not saying, oh, you're a wonderful person as you are. It's simply recognizing that you're capable of making the world better through your choices. Right. And sitting with that and accepting that and allowing that to inform your opinion of yourself. But it's not like you can't, I don't think that like validation, I don't think doesn't, I know that Prim Reaper does use a positive regard. But I'm not sure if she applies it as validation like this. Right. So,
Well, I think it depends on where we're starting from, because like
yeah,
you could, like, men might need somebody to give them the encouragement to feel like doing
they're
something
capable of it.
about
Yeah.
their situation is worth doing. But
Yes.
once you get out of that level, it's time to start doing something. And I think men are far more interested in, like actionable steps to address problems. And when I say that there could be the dark side of what you just said, so I think that that's true. But there is the dark side of that is where what I see in terms of like the way people address the difficulties in our life. So you have one group of people that that says I have to change myself so that I can live better or address whatever, right? I have to be the one to make changes I have to change my habits, my behavior, my attitude, whatever, but it's on me to do it. And then there are people who say the world has to change for my comfort, right? And and the problem with the validation approach is that it kind of encourages the latter, where you're basically saying, no, there's nothing wrong with you. It's society that's to blame. It's the world that's the problem. And if somebody internalizes that enough, then they start to basically say, oh yeah, I just have to make the world different so that I can be validated. And that's the dark side of that. And I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of this kind of stuff is that, it's
Yeah.
like that.
And
Oh, it's not you, it's the world, it's society, which she was doing from the beginning of the video. She was like, society encourages, unethical behavior. Society encourages materialism. Society. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, but what are you doing? You're participating in this world. What can you do? This is why I don't, again, like, that's why I don't find these people credible, because they don't take into account the idea that there are things that are simply out of our control and that the world doesn't owe you anything, because it doesn't, right? I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to work together to make, some things happen to help people, but to act as though you deserve this simply for existing, that's the wrong approach. So
yeah. And I would say that there is a difference between this sort of generic, oh, it's society, oh, it's patriarchy, versus actually identifying paper trails for people who are doing things like feminist initiatives, right? These are things that have budgets. Like, these are
yeah, for
attitudes that are
sure. Again,
promoted
I'm
with
not. Yeah,
budgets. Like, and patriarchy doesn't have a budget. Patriarchy is basically us, Brian. Honestly, at this point, I think we're the longest running institution of patriarchy.
I am
I
pro
guess
patriarchy,
uh,
like unironically.
maybe Voice for Men is longer, but consistently front facing the public, putting out our patriarchal message of patriarchy. And I can tell you that we're not even a drop in the bucket compared to feminism's paper trail and budgets.
Of
So,
course.
like, when I say that feminism does this stuff, trust me, I got the paperwork. They are doing this stuff. And it's not the patriarchy. It's not society. It's not, what was the kyriarchy? Whatever the hell that was.
Kyriarchy. That was the intersectional patriarchy. Yeah.
That never,
But now they just sort of dropped it and they just went back to patriarchy again. So
because it didn't have a
it's
clear villain.
patriarchy is stickier.
Well, it's stickier because it has a clear villain, men.
Yes.
Right? Okay, let's keep going.
All right.
Fits all approach to everybody, including men who have been socialized to not be so in touch with their feelings, then we're doing them a disservice. We're
Socialized to not be so in touch with their feelings. That already,
Oh.
you see that? She's already bought into the toxic masculinity narrative right there.
Yeah,
To say
well,
that men are socialized not to, like, stoicism, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, in fact, I think women could probably,
use a
know,
bit of it.
yeah, they could certainly use a lot of it.
It's
And
like a
but
synonym for
she's
the
saying, oh, men are
cortical.
socialized into this behavior. Again,
Yes.
psychology, man.
Yeah,
Not
she's
even
just
once. Not for
she's
me
just
anyway.
treating men as a project, which is why men should avoid women like her, psychologists like her.
Yep.
Validation for women, but men are a project. Men don't know how to get in contact with their feelings.
Men
They
need to
need
be
to be
fixed.
corrected. Yeah, they need to be fixed. Like that's not treating your patients as clients. It's treating them as lab animals, ladies.
Also, it's crazy that you work in mental health and you don't understand the way men's brains work.
No, that's the other thing. It's like, could you take a little bit of you work into the actual biology of sex differences? Like there are differences in how men behave and interact with their environment and experience their bonds with others. And what you're saying is that's illegitimate. It's like looking at a dog and saying dogs should only have 2 legs. Let's remove 2 of them. And then you're saying, "Oh, I'm fixing dogs. I'm fixing them." That's sick. That's why I say coal black heart. Because not only is she promoting this idea that men need to be fixed rather than things need to be gotten off of men's backs, right? Not only is she promoting that, she will never stop and say, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe men are legitimate. Like, after all, men evolved over millions of years. Perhaps they are a legitimate form of being that doesn't not constantly need control freak oversight over how they do things. All right.
Right.
letting them walk straight into the hands of the manosphere. I did think it was
Into the hands of the manosphere, into our clutches. Again,
God
these
forbid.
guys were looking for help. The manosphere had help offered to them, or at least these particular guys.
And protected
Yeah, I
them
think
from
that
suicide.
they can be kind of scammy and sketchy, but again, how did we get here? Like, why don't you ask the question? How did we get to the point where you had men who didn't have fathers in their life and they were, homeless and struggling financially, and they were looking for something, and the manosphere came to them and offered them help, and you're saying, why did you go to those guys? Weren't you perfectly fine being homeless, depressed, and alone with no
Maybe-
dad? Weren't you fine with that? Why did you go to those people?
Maybe because
How did we get here, Anna? How did we get here? That's the question you should be asking. But you're not going to ask that question because it might make you look bad. It might make you look bad. Anyway.
Well, maybe they don't want to go to people who, they want to go to the ones who say that, dogs' purpose is bitches and bones, and not the ones that want to cut off their front legs and have them hobble around. Like,
Yep.
like this is the thing. It's because you don't give them anything. You don't give them what they need to even live up to the expectations you place on men, Anna. Because you are placing expectations on men. You place the expectation that women be victimized by being called dishwashers, but men should just be able to suck it up when they're called a vestigial organ of human existence that should just be cut away from. Like, men should just suck that up. But women should be laid low by being called a dishwasher, right? That is an expectation you place on men, Anna. And without acknowledging that you're doing so. And then complaining that, why aren't men getting in touch with their feelings? I mean, we should be able to say that they should be killed, that they should be put into wood chippers, that they should be castrated. We should be able to say that they should lose their children and they should be treated like rapists by default. We should be able to say that they should be called 10% of the population. We should be able to say that their morality is corrupted and criminal. But why can't they get in touch with their emotions? Why do they act like they don't have them? Because you're telling them to. Because you're expecting them to swallow all this crap. Because you're saying, oh, well, women can't be told that they can't have a joke. They can't take a joke. But men should take all of this crap and swallow it. What do you think? What kind of pressure do you think that puts on men, Anna? What do you think? What kind of pressure does it put on their emotions? Do you really want men to start expressing the emotions that you're making them feel with your fucking feminist psychology? Okay, I think I'm just really pissed today.
Yeah. I got a super chat from Albatross, gives us $5 and says, you should share this to her to see how she reacts. Laugh emojis. Probably will ignore us because we're too small. We're beneath their notice.
Yeah, but
okay.
She's not materialistic, though. She's not about clout.
Yeah, you're right. She's ethical. She's not doing this for clout reasons, guys. She's like one of the good people. There very few of them left, you know. She is definitely one of them, though. Okay, let's keep going.
It's really interesting how this guy who was previously homeless, he was telling Louis, we don't believe in depression. And pretty immediately afterwards, Louis was asking him what happened with his.
Is that what he
brother, and
said?
He took his.
Huh?
Did he say we don't believe in depression?
One of the two, you know, there were those two guys that were fans of Justin Waller in the documentary.
Yeah, but did
And
he say we don't believe in depression?
What? Yeah, they said we don't believe in depression.
Okay, but
right.
he was the one who survived, idiot.
Well, I mean, yeah, he basically. I think that the point of it. I mean, Justin Thoreau was trying to paint it like, oh, well, if you don't believe in depression, why did your brother kill himself? But it was more like, no, he realized that again, sitting in your sadness wasn't going to solve your problem. So when his brother died, I don't know when this happened, but he said, I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm going to change my life. So if you do that and you come out of it, then it probably makes sense that you would like not believe in depression because you're like, well, I was going through it, but I'm better now. And of course, because she's a psychologist, she needs people to have depression. It validates her job. So let's see what she says.
Life. It was just like such an ironic moment of like, he doesn't believe in depression, and yet most likely his brother was struggling with depression.
He was struggling with being a man in a feminist society. In a society, and ironically, the end beneficiaries of all of this are the men, mostly men, who basically get taxpayers to eat their losses while they keep their gains, and they maintain the status quo through the feminist firewall. Right. And this is a little bit difficult to explain, but basically you can't complain about this situation because all complaints have to route through feminism and feminist orthodoxy, which neutralizes all potential complaints. And that's why we now live in a society where CEOs make like 300 to 600 times more than the average worker, thanks to women like this, giving them that firewall. And again, this isn't a complaint about business. This is a complaint about business and government in bed together, which is what feminism has constructed. Thank you, feminism. And if you're interested in me laying that out, you can join us at badgernation.online and read my Allison's Thoughts channel, where I lay all of this out and explain it. It's a little bit difficult to do it with words while my brain is squirreling all over the place. But anyway, what was he saying? Yeah, his brother is a victim of a feminist society that says that masculinity is worthless. Right? There's no benefit to men. Okay. And
clearly he didn't seek out enough feminism.
Yeah, clearly
that's the problem. That's why he killed himself. He didn't do enough feminism, right?
The idea that the guy who survived says, I don't believe in depression. And you're saying, well, that's ironic. Yeah, but he was the one who survived. Maybe his brother believed in depression. His brother believed that he was, instead of having an external force on him, he had an internal problem. That the only solution was apparently going to a feminist or a feminist inflected, because basically, unless they have their shingle out and they say that they are pro-male in some way, they likely are informed by the American Psychology Association's guidelines on treating men, which is basically men are a problem that need to be fixed. And masculinity is a precursor to mental health issues. Like literally, it's a precursor. Right? Men who have masculinity are like, they're pre-diabetic. They're engaging in the behaviors that are going to make them sick. So you need to stop that. You go to a psychologist as a man, and the psychologist is going to say, you need to stop your masculine behaviors before they make you sick. That flows right
that's
out
exactly
of
right.
That flows right out of the APA's guidelines on treating men and boys. Right? So you're telling him, okay, you have a disease, and the solution is to go talk to people who are going to tell you that you need to be fixed. And this dude who survived said, fuck that. No, I don't have a disease. I'm in a society that is targeting me and my mental health and well-being. And I'm going to acknowledge that, and I'm going to fight against it. And he survived. And now you're saying, oh, isn't that ironic that he avoided the poison that killed his brother? I don't think you understand the word. Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
Or men who have been socialized to not care about feelings to better understand mental health struggles. But if we only use like acceptable forms of motivation or like certain language that doesn't appeal to them, we're just going to push them away, and they're never going to learn about mental struggles. It's sad because these guys, they seemed like nice guys, and they were talking about a matrix without realizing that they're actually the ones being pulled into one. As to the question of like why
I'm not in the blue pill world. You're in the blue pilled world.
About to be pulled into the
You should
matrix.
just come back over here where we respect women and just do that until it kills you. That's the way it should be.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that respect women actually means we're going to expect way more from men, right? But men can't acknowledge the fact that more is expected of them. And we can't acknowledge that. And what we're going to do is we're going to expect way more from men, and we're going to pretend like women are making the sacrifices. And then when that kills men, it kills them. The sheer amount of mental pressure that puts on men kills some of them. The guys who are like, nope, I don't want any part of that. Like I'm not gonna take part in that. I'm gonna walk away from that. Those are the ones, I guess she's saying, come back to the matrix.
No, she's saying they're always talking about the Matrix, but they're the ones in the Matrix. And it's like, I mean, did you even try to learn what that meant?
Yeah.
You know what I think what bothers me the most about this woman's reply to this video to the documentary is it seems like she watched the documentary and that was her source for everything she was going to say. So she didn't look into any of the claims that Louis Theroux made. She didn't look into any of these people's, what their side of the story is. She just took the documentary as gospel and then said, this is the reality, and I'm going to respond to this, and I'm going to give my high-minded opinion about like how things should be based on Louis Theroux's carefully edited, documentary. And also later in the video, she admits that he's a gotcha journalist. She admits that. She says this is what he does, and also sort of says, and it's weird they don't trust him. It's like, yeah, but that's what he does. You just said that. And then and you're taking what he did as a known gotcha journalist whose job it is essentially to create the most inflammatory version of reality, and you're responding to it like it's just reality. Like it's wild because you're, anyway, so like this is her. She just doesn't. What? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's like, okay, you got two brothers. One died, one didn't. And the one that didn't interacted with the manosphere, and she's not taking any lesson from that. No lesson to be had there. We're going to ignore that. We're going to be like, no, there's no lesson.
No, again, and you're a psychologist, right?
Okay, let's
You work with people. You work with people.
Is there anything
she doesn't. I don't think she does it anymore. Somebody in the chat said that she quit after a year and decided to become a writer, but she gets to put doctor next to her name. So,
Okay, so this book, she decided to become a writer. Her book is not very successful.
Yeah, maybe
Um,
the channel is to sell the book.
Yeah, well, even so, she's got 6,000 subscribers, and apparently she has 117 ratings on her book after 10 months out. I don't know how she managed that. How do you manage to have 600,000 subscribers? And, if she got 117 ratings, probably a couple hundred people bought her book. How do you fail that badly? I mean, if she had like a subscribers, like, 2,000 subscribers, it might make sense. But don't you think that even her even if like 1% of her subscribers went and bought her book, that would be like 6,000 people. And it's obvious that that didn't happen. So doesn't sound like being a writer was a good idea.
I mean,
guess I'm
I'd
being
rather
catty.
she write books nobody buys than like work with people
Man,
like
yeah.
in the mental health field. She might drive more people to suicide and then blame their brothers for surviving because they didn't go to her fucking therapy sessions. Okay. Anyway,
Is there
let's
anything
switch to-
further in this, or how much more of
Yeah,
this
there is. There is.
intolerable bullshit do we have to? Okay.
I do so many guys these days struggle to find role models. I have a few theories. One is, of course, high rates of abandonment by fathers. And I don't think that this needs to be a discussion about single mothers.
What
I
are
think
you
that this
fucking
needs to be a
talking about? High rate of abandonment by fathers. Right? You know the one single way to increase father involvement after divorce? Shared custody. What does that suggest? If it was a high rate of male abandonment, that wouldn't have moved the needle. Forcing women to allow their children to continue to have their fathers in their lives legally reversed this abandonment by fathers. So she's just gonna blame men, right? Okay,
Yep.
I'm gonna get
That's it. She just, I mean, there's more to this clip, but in terms of like the fatherlessness thing, it's just abandonment. Like fathers are just abandoning their kids all over the place.
But that doesn't bear out. Because
No, it does
again,
not. No,
if we
no.
legally
But it's
protect
again,
the-
she does her research, Allison. It says right on her website, she's like fact based.
I
That's a
am finding
that's a
that
fact
my
because she got it
prediction.
from like the fucking feminist studies or something.
I'm finding my prediction that she has a cold black heart to be panning out. Okay, no. If it was men abandoning their children, then it wouldn't be fixed by giving them access to their children, which is literally what fixes it. So, yeah, you're full of shit. You just want to blame men because you think that they are a project that needs to be fixed, which is sick. Okay, let's keep going.
discussion
Does
about
she redeem
maternal
herself?
abandonment. Because while boy moms certainly can cause a lot of harm, at least they stuck around. I think it's really fucked up the way that this conversation around
Wait,
fatherlessness-
all women who have sons? What a delusional bitch.
Did you guys catch that? She said, "Okay, there can be a problem with boy moms, but at least they stuck around." So again, this operates under the presumption that when women are involved with their offspring, it's because they are choosing to stick around. Like it's a noble act of self-sacrifice. When men are not able to access or they're not with their offspring, it's because they're abandoning them. And that's the way that she's painting this picture now. And this is, by the way, this is assuming that the children these single moms have live to become babies. Like how many of them are aborted before that even happens? We've already gone over the numbers. More babies have been aborted than men have died in wars all through history. But also, well, what about even if you're like one of these, if you're like pro-choice or whatever, which is fine, that's your business. What about the ones that just get like thrown in a dumpster? What about the ones that women intentionally keep away from their fathers, even if the fathers want to raise those children because they know they can get child support from those men? What about the ones that are born of like, oh, I don't know, a woman who raped a child and then made him pay child support? But none of that other stuff matters. right? And of course, even if the woman is absolutely insane and abuses her child, because a lot of them do, she'll be like, "Oh no, but they're sticking around though. At least they're there to beat their sons every day. At least they're
Well,
there for that, you know."
she's actually calling out boy moms, specifically a subcategory of moms that advocate for their sons. Did you not know that?
Yeah.
So, and she's
Well, I
essentially
think she means to say like devouring mothers, kind of I mean, if I'm being charitable, I think she means to say that, but she's using the wrong terminology because she's trying to say, well, there are some cases where there are single moms who are, not healthy for their sons. Because
okay.
the purpose of that statement is to draw attention to like the overall good that women are doing by sticking around, right? As if women
Mhm.
have much of a choice once they have a child. But yeah, but anyway, I think it's just like she's using incorrect words, but
Okay, well, goddamn, I was hoping that we'd get this done quickly.
no, I
And
know, but this is the juicy part because we're gonna learn about how we can't be
what the
blaming. We
problems
got to
are.
stop blaming single moms. So let's keep going.
Often framed as like blaming the woman who actually stood behind to look after her children. If a child is born and they know that like they had a same-sex parent, so like a boy has a dad somewhere and he knows that that dad wants nothing to do with him, because a lot of socialization tends to come from the same-sex parent, particularly as it concerns like how to express your gender and so forth. It's understandable that they're going to feel some sort of inner conflict about the fact that their same-sex parent wants nothing to do with them. Think about the worthlessness that a boy would probably feel if he knows he has a dad out there who wanted nothing to do with him. So then when these guys were saying, you have no worth as a man, women are born with value, men are not, literally feeding them their unconscious beliefs about themselves. And that's what draws them in. And I think that's
Oh, okay, so it's and it's not men who would have a relationship with their children if it was legally protected, as we have seen in those states that have enacted shared parenting. Right? It's not men walking away. If it was men walking away, states that enact legal shared parenting wouldn't see increases in the amount of time that men spend with their children. So on the face, this is factually inaccurate. But even if it was, so it's not feminists telling young men that their masculinity is worthless and also that men aren't worth anything as fathers, which is why we have the fatherlessness rate in the first place. It is the abandonment by their fathers. Okay, fine. For the sake of argument, let's say the entire problem is boys being abandoned by their fathers. What's her solution?
Stop shaming single mom. Oh, I know she is going to get to something like that.
Okay.
Different from, say, like a woman choosing to have a child on her own with IVF and that child doesn't have a father figure, or like two women deciding to have a child together. Because in that situation, there's no parent that exists out there that wanted nothing to do with them.
Okay.
Something very painful.
But
She's
also,
jumping into like weird hypotheticals, but go ahead.
a woman who gets pregnant by a man who has 7 baby mamas is basically doing the same thing. Let's be honest. Like if you're baby mama number 2, you're basically doing the same thing. You're choosing single motherhood.
Women
Okay.
have basically like all the control over whether or not a child comes into the world. Women
Yeah,
have all the control of
but
that.
they can't be held responsible, Brian.
Yeah. So
Okay.
like but all you can do is blame the men, and it's like, well, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. Like, women have all the birth control. They have abortion. They have a child. They can like put them in a fire department house or something. They can take them to a nunnery. They can put them up for adoption. They can put them in a foster home. They can they can keep them. They can have their parents help raise them. They have all of the options. Women have them. Men have none. Basically none. Okay.
Mhm. And when they're
And
given
this is
options,
also like, let's say a man wants a child. He still doesn't have any say. She can just
yep.
get it aborted or give it away. She probably can't give it away, but she can get it aborted. And so like at the end of the day, women are the ones making these choices because they've always had the power to do that. And she
Yep.
can't even acknowledge that. All she can do is say, well, men are just abandoning their kids. And I'm sorry, but I don't think that's happening. But if it is, it's still the woman's fault because she's sleeping with men that don't want to stick around. She has the choice. She can use protection. She can use birth control. There's all kinds of options. If she's not choosing those options, she is the one screwing it up.
And when you give men the choice, they stay and they want to be with their kids. So
Yeah,
she is wrong from every, but here's the thing. She says she wants to help men or give them a role model, which they don't think men need. They need the boot off their back. But at the same time, she doesn't want to, her big thing is she doesn't want women to be blamed. Like that's more important than actually helping men. Well, you won't get help from women who think it's more important not to blame men than to help men. Not to blame women than to help men. Okay.
All right. There's a little bit more, though. There is more.
About knowing that there's a parent out there that doesn't want to be involved in your life, that doesn't really care about you, especially if society so strongly values socialization being passed down by the same-sex parent. And that is, I think...
Wait, society values socialization being passed down? This is another one of its external, speaking of locus of control, society does not create male psychology. This is why you should not be anywhere near a fucking... Keep writing your books, please. Yeah. You're dangerous to men.
Part of the problem is our constant overemphasis on gender roles. Women provide this for children, men provide that for children. Of course, there are trends where like dads tend to be more playful and like roughhouse with children. Moms tend to be more like nurturing.
Nobody enforces this.
Yes, we know that that is the case.
Yeah, they're not enforced. Nobody enforces anything.
Nobody enforces this. The roles that are enforced are the ones with budgets and government programs and NGOs with significant funding. And those roles are women are victims and men victimize them. And they also victimize their children and they should not be in the home. And they also shouldn't have jobs. Those are the roles. The role that our society enforces based on what our society chooses to pay for. And this is the role. Women should not be imposed upon. Men should get the fuck out. Those are our roles in our society. But also pay for everything. But not expect a relationship with a woman. They should just pay for everything because they're so worthless. These are the roles that are being enforced on men and women. These are the roles that there is a budget. There's a budget line somewhere for, right? I'm a little bit exaggerating, but if you actually look at feminist conjecture, it's not that far off. Feminist conjecture, which are the roles that are being forced on society, which is the roles that are being paid for, that someone is paying to promote in academia, in schools, in government programs, all over the place. Somebody's paying to promote these roles. And right out of the actual text is, men use rape and beatings to subjugate women for their own benefit. And women are victims of men. These are the roles our society enforces. They don't enforce men are playful and women are nurturing. That's another era of wholesomeness that we are no longer a part of. Nor do I find it remarkable, but this individual has a problem with gender roles that comprise of men are playful towards their children and women are nurturing towards their children. Oh my God, stop the presses. This is some demonic shit. And she is okay or is completely indifferent to men use rape and beatings to subjugate their wives and children for their own benefit, and women are victims of men. That's okay. That and also doesn't seem to acknowledge that men are playful, women are nurturing, has no government budget behind it, no NGO promoting it. It's not taught in academia. It's not taught to your children. It's nowhere, right? But the other one, that's fucking everywhere. It's ubiquitous. Like it's screamed from every pulpit. And he has a huge amount of funding. But Again, I'll reiterate, demonic. Men are playful. Women are nurturing. That's some demonic shit right there. Oh, but it's okay to say that men use rape and domestic violence to subjugate women and children, and women are victims of men. That's stuff. Like,
Enlightened.
that's enlightened. She may not even know how black and coal-like her heart is. She thinks it's warm and plush.
I had a super chow and it
Yeah.
didn't come through, but I want to read it. Richard Bier sent us $5 super chow. Thank you, Richard, and says, "What do you call it when a man ejaculates in a woman? A loading the dishwasher." That was crass. Nova fan gives us $1 and says, "Just imagine how much higher men's and boys' mental health would be if women stopped shaming quote unquote toxic masculinity." I like you wrote quote unquote and then put quotes around toxic masculinity. So I would have to say shaming quote unquote quote toxic masculinity unquote ellipses, because you put dots after that. But anyway, last thing, this is about the last soundbite. Oh, I got another super chat from Senior Sticks for $2. Thank you, Senior Sticks, and says, "Many women want the bear. Just let nature win." They don't really want it. It's a shit test, I think. But yeah. Okay.
But ultimately, anyone can do any of these things. You don't have to like fit a certain archetype of parenthood based on your gender. And I think part of the problem is framing these men's need for a role model as needing a male role model. What you ultimately need as a child is role models, period. Doesn't matter what gender they have. What matters is
Why are
that teach you who
boys
truly sees
turning to the manosphere? When they have women to explain to them that they emote wrong, they really don't need relationships with other men. And also it's their fathers leaving them that's the problem, not their mothers leaving their fathers. I mean, surely the warm embrace of this woman's wisdom will lead you to the light, my dudes. God damn.
She basically lands on it takes a village. That's what she lands on in terms of raising boys. And that we shouldn't accept that boys can get anything out of men, especially their fathers, because they're leaving you anyway. Your father doesn't want to be around you. He hates your guts. Come to us. That's what she's landing on. You know what? Maybe fathers shouldn't raise their kids. Well, we're already working on that right now. We've been doing that for a couple of generations. How's that working out? Why don't we ask black people? Hey, black people, how are you guys doing now that you've had like 3 generations without fathers? How's that going? Is it going well? Oh, you haven't feministed hard enough, though. That's probably what it is. You needed to listen to the BLM pledge where they said we eliminate the need for the nuclear family, the patriarchal family unit. We should be raising kids with whoever's around. It should just take everybody except men. We don't want men doing it, but everybody else, it's working out just fine. That's what she's landing on. Doctorate, this person. This is what I mean. Like, she went to school, she failed every saving throw against fucking commie brainwashing. And now she's got a YouTube channel because she can't write or do psychology.
But on the other hand, she couldn't leverage 600,000 subscribers into more than a couple hundred actual purchases. That's remarkable. Like, how bad is this novel?
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
I got another super chat from Zeranx. He gives us $5 and says, "Imagine the assertions about how we control women and children, and these ideologues still claim that their ideology doesn't speak against marriage." Well, absolutely does. Okay. This is basically her final point that I'm playing right now, so we can wrap it up after this.
An uncle who cares about you, an older kid at school who feels like you're a younger version of them. The problem is that a lot of these boys are socialized into never really wanting to see a woman as a role model because they're taught to not value women as anything but a sex object. And so even if there are maybe opportunities of women in their lives who could be role models for them, they reject that because they're never going to see a woman as a
What?
So now we have men don't know how to feel right. Boys' sense of valuelessness comes from men abandoning them. Men don't need male role models. In fact, the problem is that boys need male role models at all. So she is essentially saying that there is no legitimacy to men. What is this shit? Like, I'm astounded at how nasty this human being is. And she probably doesn't even realize that she is unspeakably cruel. She's saying to a creature that has evolved and has persisted for hundreds of millions of years that it is illegitimate. It is an illegitimate being. And that men's desires, men's feelings are illegitimate. They have no place to stand. And any one of their needs, if they have a need for a male role model, to understand who they are as a man, to understand why women like this put expectations on them to be emotionally tough while screeching at them to emote like a woman, right? If they want to understand all of this, what's wrong is the desire. She is a female chauvinist. She thinks that the only thing that properly exists in the world is women and how women do.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, I had to sneeze. Okay, I think that's it. I mean, that's basically it. I mean, there's a bit about toxic masculinity, but I feel like we've.
No, let's hear the toxic masculine. I don't know how this. So basically, the problem of boys and men feeling worthless is not because feminists say that they're worthless. Like, literally, boys and men are worthless. They may hold out some worth if they reject their masculinity, right? But not if they have it, because that's toxic. And then also their desire for male role models is wrong, and they don't emote right. They need to emote like women. Okay, what else? Let's do the trifecta. What does she say about toxic?
A lot of people are just kind of looking out for themselves and their own. Like, a severely underpaid teacher is not going to go above and beyond to mentor his son to play catch after 12 level, or they're just doing the bare minimum.
Oh, so teachers need more money. Okay.
No, she's saying, yeah, teachers need more money. She was trying to blame like the economy on like the fact that there aren't enough people getting involved with raising other people's kids, something like that. But it's so stupid. I'm not gonna get into that because she probably thinks that we live in a world where free shit is out there. You just got to grab it. Okay.
Bad actors profit off of straw manning feminism. They speak ill of things that feminists fought for, like women's right to vote, women's right to open a bank account, no fault divorce. They take a term like toxic masculinity.
You fought for no fault divorce, huh? Why is it that feminists fought for no default divorce if men also wanted to get divorced? Like, if men just wanted to walk away from their families?
Oh, but Allison, women being married with children is basically a prison. So men couldn't possibly want divorces. That just didn't happen.
She's a radical feminist.
Mm-hmm. But she sounds really nice, though. She's trying to sound nice. She's almost the worst kind.
As a radical feminist at war with the very idea that men exist. Right? She can tolerate men if they castrate themselves, metaphorically, right? If they agree that there is no inherent maleness that might have value, she can tolerate you. You're still an inferior woman, but you can exist. As long as you emote like a woman, you don't want male role models, you agree that the problems that men face are entirely of their own doing. It can't possibly be anything that women have done or feminism. Like, okay, so she's basically reduced my will to live. But let's hear what
I got a super chat from Richard Bier for $5. He says, "How many women see Carrie Bradshaw as their role model and the ideal embodiment of how life should be lived?" Do you get that reference?
Carrie Bradshaw.
I've heard
yeah.
the name before, but
Sex
I
in the
don't.
City. Honestly,
Huh?
Sex in the City is now more wholesome than for this woman.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah, I'm pretty Carrie Bradshaw. Isn't that from Sex in
No
the City?
idea. No
Well,
idea.
comparatively, the Sex in the City is more wholesome because at least it sent up women's foibles a little bit.
Women's liberation is the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Zeranx gives us $5 and says, "But women are the majority of our lives through our formative years and beyond." You mean like they're involved? Yes. Guild, this is a new one. Guild Far Canalore. I hope I'm not Guild of Arcane Lore. Sorry, Guild of Arcane Lore. Thank you. Gives us $6.99 Canadian and says, "Taught that women are sex objects by who? The fathers who supposedly abandon their children, the female teachers, by society. Don't you understand? Society, when it's bad, when women are affected by bad things, it's the fault of either patriarchy or society, but those are interchangeable terms. But if something good happens, it's because women did it themselves, or
feminism.
the sisterhood did it. So
Yeah.
that's how you're supposed to interpret these things. You just have to learn. You haven't read enough books written by feminist scholarship. That's your problem. Guild of Arcane Lore. All right, let's get into the rest of this.
There's a particular type of masculinity that society pushes, and they straw man it. And they say, this means that feminists think all men are toxic. Unfortunately, I do think that a lot of boys
No,
have sort of
what makes
internalized this
people think or know that feminism thinks that all men are toxic is because they assert that men use rape and domestic violence to maintain patriarchy and benefit to themselves, and that heterosexual relationships are the epicenter of rape and domestic violence and men's subjugation of women. That's why people think that feminism is toxic, because of its own academic writings. How is it that they continue to just pretend? And the fact that of everything you just said, lady, you blamed men for not having fathers, even though men will be in their children's lives if you give them legal access to their children, right? You blame the way men emoted, like men, the way that men do is wrong. And then you blamed men's lack of role models, not on men's lack of role models, but on men and boys wanting male role models in the first place. We don't need to look any further than your frickin' mug for feminist toxicity. You are the toxic feminist. Oh. Okay, did you read I think
Guild of Arcane Lore?
yeah.
I read
no,
all of that, yeah.
Zeranx. Did you read Women Are Children? Imagine the assertion. Okay. All right. So when does she say toxic masculinity?
She just did. We just listened to it. Toxic masculinity
And you're
is.
telling me there's nothing in the last 5 minutes.
Well, I mean,
if there is,
there's just like basically it's just this bit about supposed logical fallacies that the manosphere commit when they criticize feminism.
Give me a summary.
So, all right, let's.
No, summarize it.
Just
What?
Okay. Oh, so now we have the I'm defending my ideology.
Yeah.
So basically, this is
as usual, right? Like it always comes back to, well, look, the most important thing that has to happen by the end of this video is that we understand that feminism did nothing wrong and it's always good all the time.
Yeah.
That's
And
basically where we have
also,
to land on this video. That's why this is towards the end.
The problem is that boys want male mentors in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is that boys have needs. Have boys considered not having needs, but also not having emotional needs? Have boys considered not having emotional needs, but also have they considered expressing their emotions like girls? Maybe you should start by allowing boys to have emotional needs that you don't define out of existence, lady, before you ask them to recognize their emotions in your presence. Okay, let's.
All right.
because
I'll
they're male. And that kind of self-fulfilling prophecy can be dangerous. And I think like actual feminists, actual advocates of different kinds who truly care about the causes they preach and aren't just, trying to weaponize these movements, that was never their intention, to make boys feel like they're inherently toxic. But unfortunately,
men use rape and domestic violence. Men use rape and domestic violence to subjugate women. Heterosexuality is the source of women's violent subjugation by men. But they never intended to make you feel bad about being a man. This is... Okay, I'm done. Let's keep going.
No, Allison, see, Ms. Magazine and Gloria Steinem and Hillary Clinton and Andrea Dworkin and Julie Bindel and all these other people from the second wave, they weren't feminists. They were hijacking the movement. Dr. Anna is the real feminist. She's the only one that really gets it. Not Bell Hooks, none of these, not Angela Davis, like not the Weather Underground. Those people that bombed the Capitol. Feminists don't believe in violence. That's men that do that. They must have gotten hijacked by patriarchy. That's what happened. But this woman is immune to that. She's the perfect feminist. That's why she never does anything wrong. Buy my book.
Who take this advocacy so far that they do kind of send the message, hey, like if you're part of this group, like there is something intrinsically bad about you. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I lived in Seattle for a few years. If you want, I can maybe make a video about that on Patreon.
Okay, that's... oh my God. She's saying that there are some bad actors, but they're not real feminists because, they have hate in their hearts, and I don't, I guess, is her argument.
You don't have hate in your heart. You just don't think that men have anything legitimate ever. They're just not legitimate. Like, you realize that is hate. That is malice. Like, just because you've excluded men from being cared about doesn't make it not hateful to treat them this way. And she is treating them this way. She's saying, well, men should emote like women. No, they have their own ways of being that are legitimate and are evolved, right? Men and boys shouldn't want mentors that are men. They should think of her as a mentor. And all that she's ever going to say to men is live up to my expectations. But at the same time, don't ever point out that I expect you to live up to my expectations, because it is you who is imposing on me as a man. And like, how is it that people can't see the demon?
Okay. I can
Okay.
see it.
Yeah.
Get away from me, Satan. Can I just say something that I think... So we've been doing this for a while, not just this show, but like in general, these response videos and these articles, and almost all of them ultimately land on trying to make a defense for feminism as an ideology. This was originally about basically like disenfranchised men that don't have role models, that are suffering, that are basically doing their best to like live in a world that doesn't really give a shit about them. That's what Louis Theroux doesn't want to talk about, but he had to some degree because he wanted to get people emotionally hooked, but ultimately he didn't care either. But like almost every single time these things go, no matter where they start from, it doesn't matter what, it could be about any topic. It could be about writing, fiction. It could be about like men dying in wars, like in the Ukraine or something. But ultimately, no matter what the issue is, especially if it's a men's issue, the article or the video has to come back to, this is why feminism is still necessary. And what I think is going on here is that they think that feminism itself is like this magic word that keeps them feeling safe, because they're afraid that if that dies, that they're going to be in danger. It's like their protection spell. And I mean, in this woman, I think she's a witch, actually. And I'm not saying that as an insult. I mean, I think she literally sees herself as a witch. And so she probably thinks words are magic, like a witch that's involved with psychology. That's just terrifying. But anyway, but I think that it's like an invocation, because as women, they don't have anything else. They don't have force. They don't have the ability to, like, force anything to work the way. So all they can do is appeal to patriarchy, to men, to like keep them safe. And one of the ways they do it is by weaponizing words like this, like feminism. And so if feminism weakens, then as an ideology, like if the word loses its power, and this is in their mind, I'm not saying this is what I believe. I'm saying this is what I think they believe. If that word loses its power, then they are vulnerable and they're terrified of that, which is why for them, like the number one objective is to protect the word, protect the term. It's just like protecting terms that are sort of like subsets of feminism itself. Terms like patriarchy, terms like capitalism, bad, terms like all the isms and the phobias, terms like toxic masculinity, terms like emotional labor, terms like whatever, right? And they need those things to carry weight, to have power. And words do have some power, and they know that, and that's why they use it. But I think they're terrified of it losing power. And I just want to let them know that there's nothing to be afraid of. I don't think men want to hurt you. But you do. You seem to be really afraid of men that are not controlled by your words. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. And it's just I think it's just pathological. Like I can't emphasize this enough. This woman probably does not understand that there is a way of thinking outside of how she thinks. Like the work that I'm doing in writing has clarified to me that men and women think differently. Doesn't matter what you want to say about, I don't know, gender fluidity and a spectrum. Men and women process things differently. And one of the big problems, one of the big blind spots for women is they cannot see that the way that men interact with the world, or many of them can't, is perfectly legitimate. And they don't see it as its own thing. I'm not even sure if they see it at all. So men just engage in behavior and they just don't understand it. So it's frightening. And it's infuriating because these individuals have power and they shouldn't. Like you don't have to necessarily disenfranchise women. Just make it so that no woman can get an education unless she passes the water level test. You can't vote unless you can rotate an object in your mind. Like, unless you can understand the fact that systems act on objects. Not everything isn't just a web of social reading, relational reading, right? You can understand that systems exist and they function outside of your beliefs about yourselves, or yourself being seen, which is like the big thing, Mm-hmm. Women want to be seen because that's where it's at for some reason. They don't want to do things. They don't want to construct things. They don't want to build things. They want to be seen. And it's like, it is a mentality that is utterly solipsistic and allows nothing outside of itself. The funny thing is that I think I've become even more red-pilled as a result of analyzing literature. Because it's made it so obvious that women, it's really difficult for them to realize that there are other ways of thinking other than their own. And yet men can understand that women think differently than them. It's actually sort of interesting. Like men can conceive of that. And they can even accommodate that. But women really struggle with it. They are locked into their own brains. And they're constantly reading a world that doesn't exist. Except in their projections of their own fears. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I think that I officially probably have acquired the largest body of misogynists that would continue to talk to a woman on the planet. Just by virtue of having done this for like what, freaking 13 years now. I'm in contact with a lot of misogynists, not the misogynists that have ceased talking to women, because, obviously I'm a woman, right? And I don't find them very dangerous, No offense, unless you guys want to be considered dangerous. They're not. Like, men are not dangerous. They're like the least dangerous thing. And it's getting really aggravating, like women like this refusing to acknowledge that men have the right to exist because they're so freaking dangerous or something. And I think it's simply that. It is the fear of unknown. If women don't control men, then there's some unknown thing, unknown mind out there that they don't understand and is legitimate in and of itself. So they respond to that thought like the way people respond to, I don't know, the possibility of alien life, with fear and terror and xenophobia over the penis people. Okay.
All
right.
right.
Keep going.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got nothing else. She's not going to say anything else of any value. So, what do you think? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Let's do it.
All right. Well, do the things. I don't have any more super chats or super chows, but we did have a pretty big audience. We peaked at like
160, I think.
No, we got 1,543 views on the horizontal and 324 views on the vertical. Now, maybe they were just slow scrolling through, but I think we peaked at something like 140 that stuck around. So that's good. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Please hit like. Helps us reach more people. See, it works.
Yeah.
Over on Rumble, by the way. I don't know what the peak was, but we're looking at about 20 people right now. 15. Sorry. I had to like change. So I guess it peaked at about 20. So that's cool. Hello, Rumble folks. Rumble people are goated, by the way. Just saying.
All right. So if you want to send a message at any time after the show is over, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very much appreciated. Whatever funds you send, we get the full benefit of. And you get the benefit of sending your comment, not through YouTube's comment enhancement system. And also it stays where we can ponder it and poke it and think about it in our Discord. And if you're interested in joining us in our Discord, it's badgernation.online. And if you would like to support the show, it's feedthebadger.com/support. I do have it up early this month because Quran Strong wanted to support early. And thanks for the reviews that we did of Star Trek, Starfleet Academy.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Talk about absolute solipsism. That entire show was just a nightmare. And it had a complete lack of acknowledgement that men have a right to exist just in and of themselves. Because the predominant way that women interacted with men in that show was emotional extortion. And also delegitimating, like not allowing men the right to consent to like sexual access to their bodies. It was really disturbing. This stuff is incredibly disturbing, and it can only come from a mind that doesn't allow the possibility that men exist. Men's psychology has a legitimacy in and of itself, that men exist outside of what women need from them, basically. All right. So anyway, those are the things. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us a tip and a message. BadgerNation.online if you want to join our community. And feedthebadger.com/support if you want to support the show. All right. Take it away, Brian.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about in the show today, and share the video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on this episode of Maintaining Frame, and we will talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.